Hi, I'm working on a game about a knight in a dungeon with a gun. I had the idea for this game directly after I did the game jam for Jacksepticeye, and the original idea with this was that I wanted to have a game where you could potentially flip the gravity and use that as a mechanic to solve puzzles. The idea originally came from a YouTuber you may have heard of, Game Maker's Toolkit, with Mind Over Magnet. I really like the idea of having a simple platformer game based around a physics-based mechanic. Some things that I want to have in this game are some skill-based levels, but also I want a good mix of puzzle-based levels, because I love both types of games, and a lot of people say that you can't have both in one game, but it's my game, and I'm going to do what I want. One of the main mechanics that I want to have in the game, other than slinging yourself across the map with a gun, is weak points on enemies, such as shooting a bomb as a character drops something and they explode, or headshots, or maybe hitting the back of a brute and they die that way. It feels a lot better, and it makes for a lot more engaging combat than just number go down. Now, there's a couple reasons I want to do this small project that I'm only going to take about a month on. I want to learn to program in C# a little bit better. Back in high school, I took a class for computer science principles, and for what I'm doing now, it helped a lot. I recreated the Dino game from Chrome when you lose your Wi-Fi, and that was a pretty hard project at the time. Back in that class, I used JavaScript, which is an event-based language, compared to C#, which is not. C# is an object-oriented language, which means everything falls inside of a game object, or just an object in general. If you're writing code, it's going to go under that object. A huge one is I would love to learn Unity a lot better. I tried Game Maker 2 back in December of last year, but I didn't like it that much, and it made me take a really long break. So now I'm back with Unity, making something even better than I did before. There's two things with this project that I want to learn specifically. Number one is particle systems. Most people that use Unity know how to use this, and it's pretty easy overall. I just want to learn how to make very specific particles for very specific things. Number two, I want to learn how to make enemy AI and actually create what I want to make, because having a static enemy is probably one of the worst things that you can possibly have in a video game. The idea with the project originally came from my love of fantasy. I absolutely love Dark Souls, I love Zelda, and I love D&D. So it was just second nature to make a game about it. The basic premise is you're shooting goblins and progressing through difficult levels. Originally, the game started off with the gun idea in mind, but I changed it right at the start because I thought people wouldn't like it. So I moved on to a cannon idea instead, which never got pushed forward either. And then I moved on to a fireball because that's a staple of fantasy. But then, while I was on a Discord call with my buddy and I was showing him the game and asking him what he thought, he said, "Why not a gun?" Right then, I knew I had to bring the gun back. There were a lot of big struggles making this in the first week that I'm on now. One of the biggest struggles that I had, that is still a struggle that I have no idea how to fix, and if you possibly know how to fix it, tell me down below. The recoil on the gun clashes with the movement script. So when you're trying to move a rigid body, you need to add a force to it. But every time I would try to add a force to it, it would override either the movement script or the movement script would override the recoil. So it wouldn't actually work. I suspect it has something to do with me using the get access input function with Unity, but I truly have no idea. So the solution I made for this was basically just getting rid of air control. So when you jump in the air, you can recoil and go to different places with the recoil. And if you're on the ground, you can jump and move around. I found this to be a pretty easy solution. It didn't take too much time to figure it out, and it just adds difficulty to the game, which I enjoy. The second biggest thing that I had problems with was getting the player gun to actually follow the mouse. I had no idea how to do this prior, and I still would kind of struggle to do it now just because of how rotations work in Unity. Basically, what you have to do is you have to get the mouse position on the screen axis, and then you have to translate it into a world position. After you translate it into a world position, you have to minus the player's position by the mouse's position to get the angle. And then you want to do some fancy math inside of Unity to get the angle and then apply that angle to the rotation. It's a 5-line script. Here it is. I have a hard time understanding it personally, but it works really, really well. The third huge issue that I had was when I was playing the game, I kept noticing that the player would actually snag on the tile map Collider 2D, which is a huge problem because either you would get stuck or you would jump around and bounce, which would then mess with my animations. The way I fixed this was I added a second collider. I honestly forget what it was called, but you add that and then you set it to merge and it should work perfectly fine. It seems to work and everything goes smoothly. If it doesn't work in the future, then I'll have to change it again. The fourth problem that I'm having, which is a future problem to solve, is the lighting is too taxing on the system. I'm having a lot of lights everywhere in the game all at once, and this is obviously really expensive. So I plan on fixing that with a little bit of optimization. One of the things that I added that I absolutely loved was the ammo drops from the enemies. This was really easy to implement, and I really like the way it looks. I added a small glow on top of the ammo drop just so that you can see where it is so that it doesn't blend into the background. After that, I made it follow the player so that you don't have to actually walk to the ammo to pick it up. It'll go right to you. The player movement system is really satisfying and fun to use. Sometimes it can be really tricky, which is actually what I was going for. I want a really difficult game because I'm inspired by Dark Souls. Bullets were pretty easy to implement. All I did was instantiate a bullet in front of the barrel with a marker object, and then it would just have a velocity that it would travel in the direction that it's pointed. And then when the bullet touches an enemy, or even you, it will reduce your health by a certain amount. I added animation to the player, which took a little bit of time, but it was really fun and I enjoy how the player looks. I added a bunch of art. I did the background, the foreground, I did the doors, windows, the candles, bookshelves, a lot of cool stuff that'll make the world feel alive. And the last things that I did was I finished up by making it where you can go in the doors into a new level, and then the player is now a prefab so that I can load it into a different scene easily without having to rewrite everything. That actually took me a while to figure out how to do because the gun kept flipping on the x-axis whenever I would turn the player. I had to figure out how to keep the gun facing the correct direction and the lighting on the flash too. That was also a problem that I had. The way that I fixed that was I put the lighting of the muzzle flash directly on the bullet and then turned it off after a couple milliseconds. It looks really good and it works every single time. Next week, I want to at least get one enemy completely fleshed out and done. I want to have the pathfinding, AI, and everything to do with it done, including the art and animations. I would love to add a sword mechanic to the player. I didn't originally want to do this because I wanted just the gun, but I found myself getting very frustrated in levels where you had to actually use the ammo to get around because I would run out of ammo and then I wouldn't be able to progress the level. So I want you to be able to kill an enemy with a sword and then use the ammo that the enemy dropped to progress the level even more. I even potentially want to add barrels that you can shoot to drop a lot of ammo that will respawn over time, just in case that you use all your ammo all at once. And then another thing that I would love to get done next week is the UI. I know how to do UI with Unity itself, but I don't know how to use custom AIs that I draw in Sprite. So I would love to learn how to do that next week. That just about wraps up everything that I did. Thank you so much for watching. If you could subscribe, that would be amazing. It would help out the channel a ton. And if you could like too, that would be great. See you guys next week.